so much, by the way. You said that you employ local people for each initiative, but is it possible for people abroad to get involved on the ground in those efforts at all?
Yeah, it tends, we find different ways to engage. So for example, every year on International Literacy Day, which is in early September, let's say in India, for example, a lot of our corporate supporters from Mumbai, from Delhi will go spend a day in the schools. We've created some internships. So Ben Happ, who can't be here today, but he's part of our Boston chapter leadership team. Ben was part of, we have these internships with Credit Suisse employees, where we basically try to figure out a business need we have, like whether it's better IT for our Bangladesh team or better marketing for our team in Nepal. And we basically create these internships where Credit Suisse will pay their employees for a couple of months and they'll go work out in the field. And it's pretty amazing. You wouldn't believe the number of people who will literally leave New York or Hong Kong or London to go live in Bangladesh for a couple of months to help us out. So we do definitely create a lot of different engagement opportunities for our individual donors, our chapter leaders, and our corporate supporters. And in fact, I'm going to Cambodia in 2 weeks, taking 18 of our supporters to go do 3 days of site visits in Cambodia.
So I was just wondering if you've ever considered adding like a for-profit component to Room to Read in order to ensure greater financial stability.
I have. It's actually a great question, because we have a little business from children's books, where based upon my experience, I wrote a children's book called Zach the Yak with books on his back. It's kind of my doppelganger. He's a yak who delivers books to kids who don't have them. And then the highly successful sequel where Zach goes to Vietnam to build a school. He's aided by his small duck friend, Zach the Yak, and his new friend, Quack. It's pretty fun. And we actually set this up as a social benefit company. So we sell the books for $10 each, and we actually donate all the profits to Room to Read. What's great about it actually is the Republic of Tea underwrites the production costs, and Scholastic manages the production, so we actually get Scholastic volume pricing. So our cost of goods sold are zero. And that's kind of cool. It means when you get $10 for a product, you can actually put quite a bit then to the bottom line. It's not a panacea though. Think about this for a minute. You know, you got to sell a lot of children's books to raise, let's say, $35,000 of profits when you're selling them for $10 a piece. Whereas you can go and talk to the wealthy of the world and say, you're going to donate money anyway to philanthropy this year. It's tax advantage. Would you like to donate $35,000 to build a school? Quite often I've found getting private philanthropic capital can be a faster way to get money in the door than the for-profit model. That being said, we've partnered with a number of companies to actually say, you do what you do well, but put some of the money in to Room to Read. So there's a company, Restoracy. Most of you are too young to care about anti-aging skincare products, but trust me, when you're my age, you can very quickly get addicted to products. They're donating 5% of their revenues to Room to Read. Not 1% of their profits, 5% of their revenues. Atlassian, a software company, amazing company, they make kind of geekware. It's software, coding, testing, and debugging tools. But 3 years ago, their co-founders came up to me and they said, we want to do a starter license where you can download all 10 of our products, but not for free, because free is not valuable. 10 products, $10, but we'll give all $10 to Room to Read. I said, great, how much do you think you're going to raise? They said $25,000. We're going to open 5 libraries. Great. They hit 25, they hit 50, they hit 100, they hit 150,000, they hit 200,000. They've now generated $3 million of contributions directly to Room to Read through those starter licenses. And that was all through viral and social marketing. So $3 million to us, fantastic, but it's a win-win. Because those users who came in through the starter licenses were then marketed other products by Atlassian. Atlassian's now sold 12 million of additional products to those new users who came in through the Room to Read promotion. And that to me is a very powerful story because number one, this company is so successful it'll probably IPO next year. But number two, it proves that these partnerships can be truly win-win, and we can get beyond the old world of everything being a false dichotomy between for-profit and non-profit. That being said, Zach and Quack are lonely, and they want you to adopt them. So please, outside, buy them as many as you can, and we'll put the profits into Room to Read. And I did not plant that question. Yes, hi.
I was wondering if you had ever brought other students along with you to kind of educate more kids, even like high schoolers or anything around the schools that you built.
Do you all know about like how Nick Kristof does the win a trip competition for students? So I asked Nick if I can borrow that concept and actually do a win a trip competition for a student to go along with me when I travel. and Nick said he was okay with me borrowing that program, although I'm sure he's going to get more applications than I get. But that's one thing that we're looking at. We haven't done it yet. But we have taken students over with us. So for example, earlier this year, our CEO, Aaron, led a family trip to South Africa, and it's crazy. But it was basically investors who brought along their kids who were like 5, 7, 9, 11. And it's kind of fun because it's one thing when we're in the schools to interact with the students, but it's a lot more fun when you actually watch kids from outside that country come in and watch the interaction happening with the students there. So we want to do a lot more to get more students involved and out to see our work. The challenge with it is that everything we do comes with a cost, and the cost is usually the local team having to basically kind of manage and take people around to go do things with their time. So it's an easy thing to do at a small scale, it's a tough thing to do at a large scale.
Hello. Does Room to Read have any plans of going to South America?
Short term, no. Medium term, we hope so. The biggest issue you have when you're an NGO is lack of capital, right? When you look at us scaling and how can we scale and be in more places, the things we need most are great people and enough capital to go in a very, very big way. So we're already in 10 countries. That's been a Herculean effort to raise enough money to do work in 10 countries at scale in a sustainable way. But we hope to keep adding more and more countries on. We also are working now on a project, very early days, but we actually want to take all of our intellectual property and write it up. We would call it, let's say, the Room to Read Institute. And we'd say from everything from how do we do life skills training for girls, to how do we do local language publishing, to how do we do monitoring and evaluation. Write all that up, create a Room to Read Institute, and then any NGO could come in. So if somebody said, I'm running a literacy program in Peru or Colombia, but I want to learn from you, we would basically then kind of open up our IP and share it with more people around the world. So it's early days for this, but this is a very exciting concept, and in our next strategic planning process, which starts next year, that's going to be on the agenda for, do we do this Room to Read Institute? If we do, how do we get the seed funding, and how can we do it in a really, really big way? That being said, I want to be everywhere in the world that kids need us, and I'm actually mentoring 2 young social entrepreneurs doing work right now around Cartagena. And that's more of a John Wood side project, not an official Room to Read project, but I traveled in Colombia for my last birthday and I loved it, so I decided I would do something for the country. Are you from South America?
Yeah, I'm from Brazil.
Oh, you are?
Yeah.
Excellent, I love Brazil.
Thank you for coming to Northeastern. My question is, how do you allocate the money when you get your revenues? Like, I know there's so much need. I was just wondering how you decide where to put your money, like where to.
Yeah, no, so basically it's kind of, there's both a bottom-up and a top-down component to it. The bottom-up is that investors will choose what they fund. So every year you'll have people saying, I want to fund a school in Nepal this year, I want to fund girls in Vietnam, I want to fund the library in South Africa. And then there's the top-down, which is your most loyal donors will give you unrestricted funding. So you can put the money where it's most needed or where there's your greatest need. So one of the challenges of managing the organization, and Joanne, our CFO, is a hero, 18 years in the private sector, she's got to basically figure out how you mash those things together. Because you don't want to do things only because the donors want you to do it. On the other hand, you do want to make your donors, or as we call them, investors, happy seeing the results of their work. But you do have to have enough unrestricted capital that you can actually kind of fill in the hole. So you might, for example, have enough funding to do 10 new books in Cambodia this year, but your authors and artists have produced 25 titles that are worth publishing. Well, thankfully, if you have another $150,000 unrestricted funding, then the management team can make that decision of how the money goes. So if any of you become really wealthy philanthropists in your lifetime, or even when you're raising money, it's good to basically give organizations some money that has some flexibility tied to it, because you never know. Like if Jeff Skoll's team had not given us the funding for local language publishing, we couldn't have gotten it off the ground. So it's great that they let us kind of tell them where we needed the money, and then they were very, very flexible. So final word I'll say is just, I want to thank all of you, because this has been a great audience. When you're a speaker, it's always more fun to speak to a full room than an empty room. And to Dennis and your team, I would say that I've been so inordinately impressed with everything you're doing here, with your vision, with the implementation, with the fact that it's real, with the quality of the student body. So it's been an absolutely wonderful experience to be here, and I'm really excited about having a Northeastern chapter. So thank you all.